This is the story of a man from New Zealand and a woman from England stuck in lockdown together in the city of London. Hello to you.
Hello to you.
This is day 11, the Tiger King episode, because yesterday I put 7 odd hours into watching the Tiger King because everyone had been going on about it, and like everybody else, I fell down the drain in terms of watching it. So yeah, we'll get to the Tiger King very shortly. But before then, just some other basic news, especially around groceries. I noticed that some supermarkets in the UK are limiting items even further than they were.
Yeah.
So going from, say, limiting you to 3 items down to 2 items, and now indeed certain things you get at the supermarket, I don't want to use the word items twice, you can only get 1. So, yeah. It's going to be interesting going forward.
It's interesting, and lots of the supermarkets have announced that they have identified vulnerable people and they're getting priority access to booking home delivery slots. And I've had 2 days off, 2 days of deliberately not looking for a booking slot, delivery slot, because it was getting stressful not being able to find one. I've just logged in again today, and I clearly haven't been identified as a vulnerable person, despite the fact that there are a number of things going on that mean that I would say that I am.
You're pretty vulnerable.
But I don't know how you get identified or how you register or how you declare yourself as a vulnerable person, and I still can't get a slot with any of the major supermarket chains.
I think the answer is a flare.
Yeah?
Yeah. We launch a flare.
Have we got a flare? I think we might have to order one off Amazon.
Didn't you used to do boating?
Yes. But do you see that I have not... in the last 3 years, been in the house where the boats were, and B, not brought any boating stuff with me.
Well, I don't know. You're the sort of person who has things tucked away in drawers and cupboards.
Flares.
Wouldn't surprise me.
They go off anyway.
If you just happen to have a flare gun. But I'm sure if we launched a flare, we would definitely get somebody's attention.
Yeah. That would probably be more effective than registering as a vulnerable person with the local authority, because I did that the first day that they allowed you to, and we've had no contact from them.
None.
Nothing.
Yeah.
No response, no phone call, no text, no email, and I said they could do any of those things. We have heard diddly squat from that team of volunteers able to help people like us.
Yes, we should
supposedly.
probably contact them again. You mentioned Amazon. There's a weird message on Amazon today.
Is there? I haven't been on it.
Yeah, so sort of off to the side...
Yeah.
In the corner,
yeah,
there's a little message that says that Amazon will be partnering with the NHS.
Yeah, aren't they delivering tests or something?
Yeah, to deliver test kits. But it doesn't give you any information about it. It just gives you a link and it says, for more information, click here. And you click there and it takes you to the NHS website, which also doesn't have any information about it whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly nowhere obvious. And I was clicking around for a while. I couldn't find a damn thing. But yeah, it seems like Amazon and their network of delivery drivers will be bringing out test kits to people, which is an interesting step because they're still not even testing the damn stuff. So, whatever. Does that mean you have to sign up to Amazon? Does it mean that they're going to deliver something to absolutely every single house? Like, there's no information.
Yeah.
There's no
information.
information.
You'd think, why Amazon, not the post office?
Yeah, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And the other interesting thing about it is that Amazon is saying that, it's going to affect their other deliveries.
Mm.
And so, if you're ordering anything on Amazon, it's going to come much, much more slowly or possibly even a month away.
Yeah. Well, they said all of the stuff from China, they're not shipping in and holding in their warehouse stuff, that people order cheaply from overseas, that they're prioritising medical equipment and groceries for delivery. So, I'd heard that before, that things were going to be slower.
Yeah, in New Zealand, much, much tighter than here. New Zealand doesn't have Amazon like the UK and much of the rest of the world has Amazon. But, you could still order things online. But a lot of the places that order online are closed in line with government restrictions, so you can't get diddly squat. There's also been problems over there with the supermarkets because the high demand, the supermarkets decided that they would stop running any kind of specials or anything in terms of savings, and everybody noticed because everybody's grocery bills shot up quite considerably, and everyone's like, the supermarket's profiteering right now. That was the big question, and I think the supermarkets are getting called in for a meeting with the Prime Minister in New Zealand to talk about that exact thing. Or that was the news yesterday, and as of today, it's like one of the big major chains that, oh no, we're going to reinstate specials. So clearly...
Well, they've got to be careful how they do the specials, because it's things like you don't want to incentivise people to buy more than they need. So multi-buy offers, I think, should stop. If you want to buy 8 tin of beans, and let people buy 8 tin of beans at a third of the price rather than 2 for the price of 3.
Well, absolutely. And one of the things I saw from I think it was Denmark, they had a really cool thing with hand sanitizer. You could buy 1 bottle of hand sanitizer for $5, or you could buy 2 for $95. I think if you want to disincentivize people. This is that's a great way to do it. You can have 4 tins of spaghetti for $5, and if you get 8, it's $100. It makes sense. Although one of the problems is if places like Tesco limit items to 1 at a time, you have 3 dogs to feed who absolutely chew through food. One lot of dog tins is not going to cover them 2 days, 3 days.
So they either come in packs of 6 or packs of 12, and we get through 2 tins a day. So a pack of 6 will last 3 days, a pack of 12 will last 6 days.
So if we can only get one of those at a time, and the delivery slots are pushing out to a month away, something like that.
So I think Tesco's goes up to 3 weeks away, 2 or 3 weeks away. Waitrose goes up to beginning of June, and there's nothing between now and the beginning of June. Nothing between now and the beginning of June.
That's absolutely mental. So one of the things, this is a fun fact about the food we eat. 60% of the food we eat comes from the supermarket, which means 40% doesn't come from the supermarket. But all those other places, that 40%, are pretty much closed. Our usual routine of going to cafes or buying lunch or getting takeaways and all of these other bits and pieces that
when you say that 60-40 split, that applies to you. That doesn't apply to me.
It is the average for the entire country.
Okay.
So you could imagine that there are people out there who eat McDonald's and only McDonald's. They're out there.
Yeah.
They're on their gaming machines,
sitting in this room.
They're playing Xbox Live. I don't play video games. That's not really my thing.
Notice that you're not denying that you eat McDonald's on a regular basis.
It was getting bad for a while there. During the coldest winter months, I was not wanting to get very far away from work.
No.
There's a McDonald's very close to work. And
it's quick. It's convenient.
Yeah.
It's just really unhealthy.
I could just nip down there, grab that, and then nip back and be warm, basically. But I felt shame.
Okay.
And I'll continue to feel shame because you won't let me forget it.
Yeah.
I did
pointing at you and saying shame.
Shame, fatty, shame. I did download one video game. One of my friends who works in I'm so
an office.
I can't think to save my life today. It's like
a farm.
It's like my brain, I'm absolutely dragging myself
Factory?
through the mud trying to think of words and
Hospital.
keep myself going. No. I
Office.
can't think. No.
London. Wales.
No, stop.
You're just waving at North. Manchester.
No, I'm pointing out the window at the thing on the ground outside the window.
A car?
It's like, oh, God, I can't think of the word. Just
the road?
Just forget I'm alive. It's too hard.
The garden?
Stop. Okay. All right. So I downloaded Cities Skylines, which is just like SimCity, I think. Just to kill time, build your own city. And you know what I'm going to do differently?
What?
I'm going to make it virus-free.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Unlike real life.
Yeah.
I'm going to play with the city. I'm going to put in some good public transport and
Green space. Lots of
green space. Yeah.
Dog poo bins.
Something like that. Whatever kills time. Oh my God. Whatever kills time. Because it's starting to get to that point at day 11 where it's just like, oh my God. Certainly is for me. I think other people may have hit this wall earlier, but starting to look outside with a new set of eyes
Yeah.
that say, get me out of here.
I'll go in the garden.
There's not much garden.
There's enough. You can go
There's
outside,
not.
you can sit in a chair, you can put your feet up, you can read a book.
Yeah. Well, it's still quite brisk. It was okay when the sun was shining, but we're not really at that point
No, do you know
anymore.
we
It's
could
big,
we
dark
could
clouds.
start revising for your driving theory test.
we definitely could.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of things I could be doing,
Yeah.
but I am becoming very, very low on energy, and I'm starting to not sleep well at all. And
Well, you haven't been on the bike. You need
No.
to get on the bike and get your blood circulating.
well, that's where I was going with this. I'm going to hit the
Oh, okay.
bike today quite hard. I didn't yesterday because the previous day I had all those cramps in my calf.
Yeah.
And that was very, very sore. So I really didn't want to set that off again. So I avoided the bike yesterday. But I'm going to hit it again today. But yeah, the inside times are starting to get to me. And I think it's the disruption of sleep and the low energy and everything else. I'm
Yeah.
just starting to come away at the seams. Or it could be that I invested 7 of my hours yesterday in Tiger King and then had crazy Tiger King dreams all night long, because that did happen. But we've both been all the way through Tiger King now,
Yeah.
and I don't suppose there's any need for a movie review today because all we've done is watch Tiger King.
Yeah, I don't think I watched any movies.
So, shall we dive in?
Yeah.
If you're afraid of spoilers, there's probably going to be some, because we're going to cover, well, maybe not most things, but some things. I can dive in with some fun facts that I've unearthed while I'm Googling it in the middle of the night on my phone while I just couldn't sleep.
Oh, okay. So I haven't Googled it. I just watched it.
Yeah.
Okay. So what fun facts did you find out?
No, let's
From
talk about Tiger King.
Should we outline what the premise is for those that
Are
don't
interested
know what the hell we're talking about,
before they decide to
whether or not to watch it?
turn us off because they're like, actually, I'm gonna dive into this.
Yeah. Outline what it is and where it is.
Well, one of the crazy things about the United States is that there aren't very many restrictions at all on owning exotic pets. And that includes big cats. So we're talking about lions and tigers. We're talking about...
Lions, tigers, and bears.
Well, I was going to say...
tigers, and bears.
And bears and bobcats
Monkeys.
and mountain lions and apes and monkeys.
Chimpanzees.
And crocodiles.
Alligators.
Everything.
Yeah.
It's just a wild west. And they're all about American liberty, and they're like, I should be allowed to own whatever I want, and the government can't take it away. You know, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
Which I learned is called libertarianism.
well,
I didn't know that word before.
there's more tigers, far more tigers living
Yeah.
in the United States than there are living in the wild anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, which is really sad.
It's really sad. So there's about 4,000 wild tigers, which is far too few.
Yeah.
And there's about 10,000 tigers living in the
Somewhere
United
between
States in a
5,000
cage.
and 10,000. They don't know exactly because you don't have to license them.
You don't have to do anything. But the crazy thing is people, have these animals and they're not necessarily treated all that well.
No.
And that's basically where we start with our story about the Tiger King. Basically,
There's a guy called Joe Exotic
having a window into that world, yeah.
who has a big cat collection zoo. I think he refers to it as a zoo. But it's mainly focused around big cats. It's not a, kind of all kinds of animal zoo. It's just mainly big cats and bears and wolves, I think they have there as well. And he established this place in memory of his brother who passed away unexpectedly. I think he was killed in a car accident. And he's, as he describes himself, gay as a $3 bill. And it was quite open and honest about that. I think he describes himself as a gay, gun-toting, something Tiger King. Anyway, he sets himself. He is the Tiger King, and it's all about his The story follows the interactions between him and the people that work with him and for him, and that he marries, and that he has competitions with and collaborations with. Competes with, not competitions. He competes with some people and collaborates with others, and his financial comings and goings. And he gets into a real beef with a woman, and that results in various legal proceedings. And that's probably enough without giving it away. So, if you want to go and watch it, go and watch it. And then come back at this point and hear me and Jez give you loads of spoilers.
Okay, spoiler time.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy. The whole story is just so out there. It's such an intricate web.
Yeah.
One of the first things that's divulged when you're watching the program is they say, well, the director's, you hear him speaking, and he says, this is 5 years of my life. This took 5 years. And you see it all. There's only 7 episodes, but the intricacy in terms of, there's a black market web for selling tiger cubs and other animals. There's all of these shows that exist around the parks. There's magic shows. There's
and there were bits of it that were quite kind of, well, this is quite so the guy was doing live broadcasts while he was, at the start of social media, was trying to catch the social media dragon's tail. And then he got somebody in who was actually a media professional, and then the filming of this program was filmed was filmed around the guy who was filming it, who was filming himself. It was like there were 3 different layers of filming going on.
Well, that guy wasn't the director.
No, I know. He was somebody that they interviewed.
Yeah.
But David, was it David? Somebody I think
don't know.
is the guy who starts off the very first episode. He's directed the program that we watched, but he was filming a guy who had made a program about a guy making a program about himself. So it was like, I kind of know how Mark feels about listening to us talk about his podcast. It was like, we're podcasting about a guy who's doing a broadcast that mentions our podcast, and it was like, yeah, it's all of it.
Yeah. And I can hear people's brains straining right around the world right now, trying to sort of unpick what was just said.
Yeah.
Because it's crazy. It's a crazy, crazy story.
Yeah.
And there's
some very colourful characters in it.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's
there are some twists.
Oh, yeah.
There are some twists.
Well, there's sex and there's murder plots and there's people cheating
Swingers.
and losing limbs and legs. Everyone in the whole documentary has a limp. Every single last person has a limp.
So do I. Limps are more common than you think.
One of the Tiger Park owners has a harem. Basically he runs a cult.
Yeah.
And has all of these young women working for him endlessly and sleeping with him and
having breast implants.
Yeah. It's just, And then there's, this other woman, which, Joe Exotic has his big beef with. And she's, running, a tiger rescue centre.
Yeah.
But she may have killed her previous husband.
Yeah, she's been married 4 times, I think. 3 times. 3 times in total. And it's husband number 2 disappeared without a trace.
But, she also doesn't pay she doesn't pay her staff, but she's also got all these tigers on site that people come to visit, just like all the others. They all seem to have their own scam.
Yeah.
And, it's just bizarre. And then you've got people coming in and stealing businesses and doing bad business deals. And then you've got people who get involved with the FBI as undercover informants. And it's just the dirtiest story.
It is. It's very, how can I put this? I would say it's very Channel 5-y. And there is a BBC version because Louis Theroux visited this guy, Joe Exotic, must be a few years ago now, and did one of his, Louis Theroux's Wild Weekend kind of programmes. So there is an hour-long version that's very BBC-ish, also available. I think I should make you watch that next.
Yeah, well, we should. I will take the time to invest more in this whole thing.
Yeah.
One of the places
that was shot before all of this crazy stuff happened. I don't remember there being multiple partners in the Louis Theroux thing, but that might just be my poor memory.
See, what I remember Joe Exotic from when he appeared on Last Week Tonight.
Yeah.
But when he was running for president,
Yeah.
which is another thing that he did, he did, and ran for governor.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was absolutely yeah. It's just the story is so incredibly wild.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, give too much away, but I have been getting a lot of texts from family members and friends who are like, "Are you watching this? Are you watching this? Which episode are you up to?
Yeah.
Which part of the story?" One of the things that they've done really well is at the end of each episode, they seem to deliver the twist.
Yeah.
They're like, "Here you go. Here's a bombshell. Enjoy."
Yeah. Just as you've kind of, think you've got a grip of a character or a situation, they'll release some small bit of some nugget of information that makes you think, holy shit, yeah, I was reading that all wrong, and now I don't know what I think.
I don't know what to think anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Well, do you want it's I was reading a little bit of the reaction to the story from the
Yeah.
people who were in the documentary.
Yeah.
And fairly unsurprisingly, most of them aren't happy
With
about
how they're portrayed.
the portrayal
Yeah.
and what they were saying and how, I mean, documentaries are difficult to make. And quite often if you go in, you've got this idea for a documentary, but documentaries are real life.
Yeah.
And then during
Things
the course
change,
of making a
yeah.
documentary, it changes
Yeah.
quite dramatically. And that, I think, is partially what happened through the making of this documentary.
Yeah, with all the twists.
Yeah, so they're saying that at the beginning of this, they wanted to make a documentary that was sort of like Blackfish, which is all about
I don't know what that is.
orca in captivity at
Oh,
SeaWorld,
okay.
that sort of thing. And that's how they got, some of the people on board, because those people were interested in making a documentary along those lines.
Oh, okay. And then they weren't expecting all of the
Well, all of the
Vegas strippers and...
all the people who come up in the story and the twists and turns that go along the way, and
Yeah.
whose plane went missing and whose camper van got stolen and who took a truck off another company and who lost millions here or there, or it's just mad.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely mad. And one of the crazy things in the documentary is that Joe Exotic makes all these songs
Yeah.
and music videos
Yeah.
to go with his songs.
Yeah.
It's pretty nuts. Did you enjoy those?
Yeah. The very last episode, the kind of credits roll to one of his songs. So you actually hear a song all in full. I mean, you only hear snippets in the programs and see snippets. But yeah, some of them are special.
I have.
You've
News.
downloaded it, haven't you? You've got them all lined up on Spotify.
He didn't write or sing those songs.
I'm not surprised because he was pretty poor at lip syncing to the videos.
Well, he sang at that funeral,
Yeah, he did.
but yeah, it's not him.
Who is it then?
It's some other band.
Oh,
And they did the intro music or something for his reality show or his live stream that he was
Yeah.
doing. And that's how they got involved with him. And yeah, it's all them. And then he lip syncs over the top. He can't play guitar either. And yeah,
Okay.
so there you go. It's one big reveal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in the grand scheme of things that are revealed in that programme, that's kind of like, yeah, okay.
Who even cares?
Have we finished talking about Tiger King? Because I've got something to reveal as well.
If you're pregnant, this is going to come as a shock.
Get out of my bathroom cabinet. The fast work. No, that's not what I'm going to reveal. We thought we'd gained a follower on Twitter.
Yeah.
Well, when I logged into Twitter to post a picture of my lovely leg warmer, I noticed that we'd lost a follower on Twitter. And
Oh.
I thought, oh, that's kind of strange. And then I looked at who we'd followed because I couldn't remember what the guy's name was. And we were no longer following him. And I thought, well, come on. I thought, you can't be that petty. Somebody shows an interest in my cast and you wouldn't cut them off. No, his Twitter account has been deleted.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. What does that mean? That can mean anything. And then it got me thinking about, we had a bit of a conversation yesterday following on from our what would make a very interesting pandemic-based film, and I was talking about what's it got me onto the kind of double lives being exposed and blah blah blah, and I was like, well, what other crimes or mysteries could emerge from this? So, and it got me thinking about people faking disappearances, and you could we're supposedly locked down for 3 weeks. It varies around the world, but it's unlikely to be 3 weeks. I mean, they're now talking about 6 months. I don't think we'll be all in lockdown for 6 months, but I'll be quite happy to work from home for 6 months. In 6 months, somebody could disappear, and nobody would know when they disappeared, would they?
I think we have to very realistically think that people are probably dying in their homes.
Yeah.
And people don't know.
Yeah.
So if you're out there listening, do keep in touch with your neighbours, even if it's just by phone.
Yeah.
Or a wave across the fence. Just keep an eye on people. Keep an eye on them. You don't know what they're up to. They could be offering you money via PayPal for photos of you and your cast. And then stop following you on Twitter.
They didn't offer money for photos. They were asking. It was a. Anyway.
Let's face it. That went down a path.
Yeah.
It
got me thinking what kinds of Well, it got me thinking about people disappearing. Anyway.
He's quite specific, wasn't he, about wanting to see the foot end of the cast?
No, he
and
wasn't.
Whether or not the cast went around the foot. It was all very specific.
He asked a question about it. That was all. You're turning this into something.
I'm just saying his Twitter account's now been deleted.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Don't know. Anyway, twists and turns.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll show up in the next big documentary. And it wouldn't surprise me if there's a Tiger King 2. But also wouldn't.
Well, they did. Well, the other one that they did that was along similar lines was about that guy who got accused, was in prison for 20 years for raping a woman, and was then found to not have done it. DNA testing came out, and it wasn't him. And then very soon afterwards, a young girl went missing, and I can't remember what happened. But anyway, the girl that went missing had arrived at his place to take photos of a car for Auto Trader, and she was never seen again. And he and his nephew were blamed for her murder. And there was a Netflix thing about that as to whether it was the local police that set it up. I can't for the life of me remember what it was called. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'd heard all about it, but yeah.
You didn't watch it?
Nah, crime docos don't.
That made 2 series. So that it made one about it being all set up, and them kind of up to the trial, I think. And then there was people trying to a very, very famous lawyer got involved, and she was trying to get them an appeal. Yeah, and the stories changed, and so it was interesting. But that was a while ago actually, and I don't know what's happened. I don't know whether it's.
You have a big chance to Google it this afternoon.
Yeah, I do.
I don't. Well, it wouldn't surprise me if there's a Tiger King 2, but it also wouldn't surprise me if the director didn't want any part of it. Like, I can just imagine how deep down the rabbit hole that person currently is, and how much of a relief it must be to have it out there in the world and to sort of not have to be working on it anymore.
Yeah.
Because the intricacies of it was just so... It was crazy. It doesn't surprise me that they made 7 parts out of that story.
Yeah, I'll be honest, when we started watching it, I thought it was a movie. I thought it was, one 90-minute thing, and I was wrong.
Yeah.
But, now we've got loads of time on our hands.
Well, something's definitely going to come of this documentary in the States. We may see a law change around, the keeping of big cats and tigers. We may see another series looking a little bit more closely at maybe some of the other characters who are involved.
Yeah.
And we may see a follow-up on what happens because... again, spoilers, at the very end of the documentary, Joe Exotic from inside a prison cell now basically agrees to dob everybody in and go all in with the authorities on bringing everybody else down with him. And you can kind of see it's a house of cards and that could very easily happen. Yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they continue and we get a Tiger King 2.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's in 5 years, I doubt that very much. If they bring out a sequel, it'll be
Yeah,
next
well,
year.
that's the thing with this murder thing. Last time there was the first series stretched over a number of years, and the second one was probably all done within 6-9 months. So yeah,
Strike while the iron is hot, eh?
yeah,
Make
yeah.
your bucks and fight. Pay for your retirement. That's
Well, no, I mean for the people involved, he was wrongly convicted, and he spent half his life in prison when he shouldn't have done.
I'm talking about the producers of the.
Oh
television
yeah,
program.
I suppose so. Yeah. Okay.
Well, the guy who was trying to make the reality TV show about Joe Exotic,
Yeah.
that's what he was planning. He's like, I'm going
Yeah.
to sell this show for $1 million.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah, he referred to it as it being his retirement.
Yeah, and he'd be able to, retire on that. But he lost it. He lost his mind trying to do it, and then all of his footage was destroyed, potentially by Joe Exotic, and he just lost it.
Yeah.
And do you know where he ended up?
No.
Norway.
Did he?
He's run away to Norway.
Oh, okay.
So,
To do what?
well, I don't know. I didn't want to really delve into
Oh,
his life.
This could be
He's
your next job. You could
run away to Norway.
no.
I
Go
would
and,
happily run away to
and
any part
find
of
him.
Scandinavia.
go and find him, track him down, do a documentary, a real, what do they call it? A reality show about him and his new life
No.
in Norway.
No, I can imagine it's... Well, I hope that he's found peace with it all and that he's okay and,
Yeah.
he's living an all right life over there in Norway. That's what I hope anyway. A lot of the people in this documentary, a lot of the side characters, I can only, wish the very best for them and hope
Yeah.
that their lives work out okay and they can avoid prison and avoid addiction and, all the other dramas that
yeah.
come up.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah, it's very. I was very sad. I mean, Joe Exotic seemed to take in people who didn't have an alternative. He took in homeless people who had just been released from prison, and gave them jobs and somewhere to live. And yeah, the jobs weren't great, and where they had to live wasn't great. But he kept them clean, as in off the substances that they'd been abusing. And we saw one guy.
Well,
who,
unless he was sleeping with them.
yeah, maybe. But there was one guy who'd clearly fallen off the wagon at the end and had landed hard, which was a shame.
It was quite sad.
Yeah.
And one of the things that really gets you by the end, because you start off with this documentary about, big cats in America and how wrong that is. And then you fall into this abyss of storytelling around all of these characters and
Forget about the tigers.
you forget about the tigers.
Yeah.
And that's really, really sad. And I really hope that they become more of a focus for the authorities and lawmakers in the United States moving forward, because it's just obscene what's happening.
Do you
to
think
those
there's a
animals.
way of... Because they've obviously got quite a successful breeding program. I mean, not a program, they're just breeding. But they're taking the cubs away, when they're literally newborns. They've just popped out of one tiger's arse, according to the program, which was quite alarm bell ringing for me. Babies don't come out of your bum.
Hang on, I just got to write that down.
You learnt something today. So yeah, they take away the newborn cubs and they hand raise them. But if they didn't hand raise them, would being raised in a enclosure, it wouldn't equip them to be released back into the wild, would it?
No, and from what I could see, they had tigers, rooting tigers. It didn't matter because there's all these different breeds of tiger from all these different parts of the world, right?
Yeah.
So, and it just looked like they were just letting them do whatever. Looks like a tiger, it's a tiger. It doesn't matter.
And lions.
Yeah, exactly. Ligers,
Yeah.
which, should be sterile, but are a mix of tigers and lions. Like, the levels of
Yeah.
wrongness that was sort of going on in these parks was high. And the justification for it seemed low.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can only say that, you have to hope that as a species, I mean ours, we really put more effort into trying to save the environments that all of these, because we're just putting so much damn pressure on everything, and these pinnacle species are going to go extinct, and then the entire ecosystems are going to collapse, and it'll all come back on us. And
Speaking of extinction, should we do the numbers?
oh my God, should we, or should we just let people just skip it for the day, unless it's something really newsworthy?
Well, the number that I thought was really interesting was of the 552 people in New Zealand have tested positive, which is an increase of 72 over the last 24 hours. But only 12 of them are in hospital.
Yes, most people are isolating.
Yeah.
And most of the infections have come in from overseas.
Yeah.
The vast majority, which is, very interesting.
So what's interesting for me is that in the UK you only get a test if you're going into hospital. So, we've got 19,500 positive tests. And I would say a significant number of those are in hospital. What do you think? People aren't being tested, getting a positive result, and then going home again, are they?
Yeah, the testing regime in the UK is really iffy.
If it's okay to be looked after at home, then you're at home and you're not getting tested.
Yeah. And what are they saying? You have to be in the top 20% in terms of illness to be admitted anyway. So, yeah. It's, the testing regime in the UK is dodgy. And now the government and the NHS are teaming up with Amazon, which also seems dodgy. Like, I'm just not...
Well, it's true, they have got a ready-made network to distribute the tests.
Well, so does Royal Mail.
Well, yeah, but Royal Mail is a private company the same way that Amazon is.
Yes, you sold your postal service.
Yeah, we did.
The interesting thing about the numbers that you're now seeing out of New Zealand is that you're not seeing this drastic increase on a daily basis out of New Zealand anymore. You're seeing around about the same number of people becoming infected on a daily basis, which suggests to me that New Zealand is hitting the top of their curve.
Yeah.
And that what you'll see in New Zealand now, providing everybody follows the rules and everybody stays home, is that the curve will start to fall away, which is, great news for New Zealand. I want to see that backed up by the numbers first, of course, and there's always that chance that some sort of super spreader will escape out into the community and go to every single party in every person's house and cough in all their faces and be like, go into the supermarket, touch absolutely everything, put it all back on the shelf, just be an absolute arse end and be like, oh, it was me, oh, too bad,
Yeah.
So
but I think people here will be doing that, not intentionally, but they will be coughing on their hands and then touching everything.
I think it's just a completely different scenario here in the UK because the virus is everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. And, we'll have to face up to that again later this week when I have to decide whether or not I go to work again.
Well, before that, I've got to go to hospital. Let's not make it all about you.
Well, do I need to go with you?
I don't know. I was kind of thinking, well, we could share a cab up there because the hospital's right next door to Sainsbury's, and you could go in Sainsbury's and I could go to the hospital, and then we could share a cab back. We
could also take the high risk option and take the car. It's only broken down on us in the middle of the city once. That last time we took it out.
Yeah, but I think now that we're on lockdown and it's all, you shouldn't leave the house unless it's in it. I'm not sure we would get recovered. Yeah. Right. So, another adventure beckons. Yeah. Some options for us to mull over between now and Friday. It's only 5 days away. Rightio. Until tomorrow.